All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks so much for being here today for our seminar. My name is Cinnamon Moffat, and I'll be your host for today. Just a quick reminder, I'm looking around, most people I recognize and have been here before, but this is a hybrid event, so that means we have folks online and folks in the room. Some logistics to just remind everybody, if you are online, please put any questions you might have into the chat box. And our volunteer today is Katie. She will read those questions out to today's speaker, so that you can engage in today's conversation. For folks in the room, all you need to do is when we get to the question and answer, raise your hand, I'll bring you a mic, and that way folks online can hear as well. Other logistics about today's event, if you want to share it with others, we are recording it, so it'll be on the HMSC past seminar page, hopefully by tomorrow afternoon, so feel free to share that, or if you've missed any of our seminars, you're welcome to go to that page and check them out. Wanted to also just do a really quick promo for next week's seminar. We do these seminars every single week here in this space on Thursday at 3:30. So on February 6th, we have Emily Schlesinger, who is with is with NOAA. I've got to find the right line here. Alaska Fisheries Science Center at HMSC, and she's going to be talking about Arctic cod reproduction strategies under prolonged exposure to ocean acidification. So hopefully you'll all be able to come back and join us for that particular event. But I'm just going to get out of the way here and hand the mic off to Felicia, who many of you know. She works with Oregon Sea Grant, and she invited today's speaker. So I'm going to have her introduce.
Thanks. So hello, everyone. Felicia Almeida-Schultz with Oregon Sea Grant and OSU Extension. So I'm just across the bay from you all. And today it's my pleasure to introduce Maddie, because Maddie and I are both members of the Cascadia Coastline and Peoples Hazards Research Hub. That is a project funded by the National Science Foundation. And so I have a little bio here that I'm going to read about Maddie. So Maddie Lucas is a PhD candidate at the University of Washington, working with Harold Tobin to map and characterize offshore fault activity at the Cascadia subduction zone using marine geophysical datasets. Her research aims to link tectonics with fault structure and evolution. She's visiting OSU for 2 weeks to work with Jeff Beeson on processing bathymetry and seismic data for an active strike slip fault system offshore Oregon. She's interested in potentially doing a postdoc at OSU once she completes her PhD. And Maddie is originally from Plymouth, Michigan, near the University of Michigan, and she has 3 sisters who are also earth scientists. That was a fun fact I didn't know. She completed a Bachelor of Science in Earth Science at Northwestern University in 2020 and went straight into her PhD program at University of Washington. What she will present today is K-12 outreach and education work that has stemmed from her PhD research interest to work with coastal communities in Washington at the greatest risk for Cascadia earthquakes and tsunamis. The project is in collaboration with University of Washington Riverways and has piloted through the Cascadia Coastlines and Peoples Hazards Research Hub, also called the Cascadia COPS Hub, and the Cascadia Region Earthquake Science Center, for short called CRESCENT. In the future, Maddie wants to combine her passion for geohazard research and K-12 education and community engagement to reduce the loss of life in the next great Cascadia megathrust earthquake and tsunami. Please welcome Maddie with me.
I'm going to turn something off.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay on the mic? Okay, hi everybody. My name is Madeleine Lucas. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Washington, and today I'll be presenting about my work building the Cascadia Culture and Geoscience Exchange Program, or CASE. And the goal of this program is to build community resilience in Cascadia through K-12 education. So here you can see a photo of our program with the Quileute Tribal School High School from 2023, where we taught over UW spring break for 5 days about geology that year. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about our program and what we do. Hach Tchoktia. Good afternoon in Quileute. So I thought it would be fun since I teach high schoolers and we try to engage them for us all to try to say this Quileute word together. So maybe on the count of three, we're all gonna go for it, and it sounds it out for you. So 3, 2, 1. Achtachokia. Maddie Quidlatle. My name is Maddie Haley Hoquat. I am not native. I am the Quileute CCASE team leader and the founder of the Cascadia Culture and Science Exchange program. So this is my Quileute introduction and something we learned as part of our cultural exchange with the Quileute Tribal School and the tribe. A little about me. My research at UW investigates offshore faults at the Cascadia subduction zone to better characterize earthquake and tsunami hazards. So here you can see me on the left. I'm at sea on the Langseth. This was my first research cruise, mapping the Cascadia megathrust fault. And on the right is a photo of me on the RV Sally ride collecting some high resolution seismic data. So yeah, the bulk of my research is me going out to sea and mapping out faults and trying to characterize their activity, where they're located, and the hazard they pose to the coast. Being here and doing this research has motivated me to engage with the coastal communities in Cascadia that are at the greatest risk of these earthquakes and tsunamis that I study. So here you can see a photo of La Push. The lower village of La Push is all those houses there, and it just is here to demonstrate how vulnerable this community is to earthquakes and tsunamis in Washington. So I wanted to show this study from Wood et al. 2015, calculated about 100,000 people reside in the Cascadia tsunami zone. And it points out that education can save lives during an earthquake and tsunami event, especially in tribal communities on the Washington coast. So those, can you see my mouse? Those purple dots here are tribal communities in this group 1. And so in this study, they found most of the communities in group 1 have people in tsunami hazard zones, but the magnitude of the exposed population is lower than other communities, and the populations may have sufficient time to evacuate before the wave arrives. However, for the successful evacuations, they're not guaranteed in these places because it's up to the individual and the people living there to really understand the threat of a tsunami, recognize the signs of a tsunami, and take action right away to get out of the tsunami zone. So in these places, especially in these communities identified in this paper, education efforts that recognize the differences in the people living there may be the best course of action to save lives in these communities. And this is what really motivates me to go out to the coast and teach. This is a famous example of how education saved lives in the 2004 Indonesia tsunami. There's the story of Tilly Smith, who was a 10-year-old girl who was on vacation with her family. And because of what she had learned just a couple weeks prior in her class about the warning signs of a tsunami, she was able to tell her family and a bunch of other tourists around her to evacuate to higher ground, and it ended up saving what I think was like over 100 lives in this tsunami. So this really shows to me the power of education and of the individual in these events, and how just one person knowing what to do in a tsunami can save a ton of lives. So even though maybe we only go to a few schools and the impact can seem small, each person I think matters. And yeah, that's why I keep doing this work. So the mission of our program is to increase coastal community resilience to earthquake and tsunami hazards through the development of long-lasting and impactful educational partnerships with rural and tribal K-12 schools in Cascadia. And mainly we've been working in Washington because I'm a student at the University of Washington. So we've been connected to schools that way. So here you can see the classroom door of our high school science classes. So just a fun little graphic we put together, and you'll see throughout the course of this talk, demonstrates this exchange we have between the UW students who go to teach at the schools and the community members who participate in these programs. And so we kind of go around this exchange circle to describe the different components of what we do. So we teach STEM, mainly earth science. We share about our UW student experience going to college and our career pathways. We mentor QTS students interested in college and just planning for after high school. And then in exchange, we learn about Quileute language, like I showed in my introduction. We learn about the culture there, and we participate in cultural activities, and then we're privileged to get to learn about the traditional knowledge and stories and food of the places we go. So this is that culture and science exchange that we do each year. So CASE aims to weave indigenous knowledge of earthquakes and tsunamis into K-12 geoscience education. So I think that's sort of captured in this artwork that I worked on with a student over spring break 2024, where we have this pretty well-known Thunderbird and whale story, which is the story of how that's been passed through the generations, talking about how earthquakes and tsunamis work and their hazard. Yeah, so we have Thunderbird there and whale and tabail, just bringing together all the different components and weaving in that culture of the students. The goal of our program is to develop our students' foundational understanding of the Cascadia subduction zone earthquakes and their hazards. So just that foundational knowledge of what is an earthquake, what is a tsunami, what is it going to look like when these events happen. We also aim to train the next generation of geoscientists to address many of the challenges we work on related to coastal resilience in Cascadia and understanding these hazards and preparing for these hazards as a community. Here's just some of the things we do in class. So on the left, a photo of us analyzing the tsunami walk map for La Push with the students, pointing out, where is my house? Where do I live? How much time do I have to evacuate? Just really connecting between the hazard with where they live. And then on the right is a tsunami wave model activity we do to discuss the differences between a tsunami and a wind wave. So just developing our fundamental understanding of what a tsunami is. And then another goal is to increase the students' awareness of interest in and confidence in pursuing pathways. So we do a lot of field trips to apply what we learn in class out in the real world, going to places that are familiar to a lot of the students. So we went to Second Beach in Olympic National Park to do a geology scavenger hunt, which is sort of a fun way to use the skills we learned in class about geology in the real world. We also do lots of hands-on activities in class. So here you can see a couple of the students working on their building little structures and testing them on earthquake shake tables. So that's bringing in the component of engineering into understanding geohazards and how we can better prepare. Another goal is to strengthen our students' knowledge and sense of possibility around going to college or just what they're going to do after high school. So we try to provide as many resources as we can when we go to the schools to let the students know what sorts of opportunities, scholarships, and resources they can access to make that transition from high school to life after high school easier. And we don't just promote going to UW, we also provide resources about community college and the process of transferring. There's a couple members of our team who are transfer students, so we just try to share our experiences and like the real, what is college actually going to be like, and just that decision-making process. So we try to be as real as possible with our students, but also share all the cool programs that we have going on at UW since we are UW students. Another goal is to, as you've seen throughout the talk so far, to incorporate the culture and the lived experiences and learning interests of the student. So really trying to make our STEM curriculum relevant to their lives and to their community. So in class, we'll often incorporate art and look at how earthquakes and tsunamis are related to their indigenous oral histories, such as the Thunderbird and whale story. There's also the story of a giant wave that basically lodged a canoe into the top of a tree. That's another story we learned. So that drawing on the right is that canoe in a tree story. So I loved to see what the students come up with and how they can link their culture into understanding geohazards in Cascadia. So looking at the structure of the program, I've talked a lot about the Quileute Tribal School. And so we've been going there. We're in our 3rd year going to the school and teaching the high school. But this year, we are also going to the Niabay High School in Niabay, Washington, to work with students of the Makah tribe. So we've expanded a bit this year, and hoping to expand to more schools in the future that are interested in having this program. Yeah. And so this is all made possible through our relationship with the Riverways Education Partnerships at the University of Washington. Riverways has been working with these schools for over 10 years to build strong partnerships in education. And yeah, so I came in 3 years ago and became a team leader of one of these teams, but there was many students and people who came before me who built up this relationship with these schools, and I attribute a lot of the success of the program to that trust that was built over long amounts of time by the people who led the program before me. So some people may know this, Riverways changed the name from the Pipeline Project, as many people remember it before the name changed. So a little bit about Riverways. Riverways is located on UW campus, and they send teams of UW students to rural and tribal schools across Washington to teach STEM and mentor K-12 students. And Riverways is a part of the Northwest Earth and Space Science Pathways program in the NASA Science Activation team. So we go to all sorts of schools: the Curlew School, Brewster, Yakima, Campbell Farm, Toppenish, Niabay, Forks, and the Quileute Tribal School. And we'll do the high school and the middle school at a couple of these schools. So there's also a team that teaches the Quileute Tribal School middle school, but our program mainly focuses on high school STEM. And the CASE has further support from Crescent, their high school STEM Pathways program. They provide additional support for us to pay our partner teachers who really make this program possible, as well as paying high school interns to work on internship projects and just providing stipends to the UW team, because a lot of this work is volunteer-based. And yeah, the first year we kind of piloted this project through the Cascadia Copes Hub, through their pilot project program to engage with coastal communities in Cascadia. So that allows us to really expand what Riverways does and make it relevant to Cascadia. So a little bit about the communities we go to. So Niabay and La Push are located on the west coast of the Olympic Peninsula. It's quite rural, so I just wanted to include this to give some perspective. The driving from University of Washington is about 4 hours on a good day. We take a ferry, so it's quite the journey to get out there, but it's worth it once we get there. I'd recommend going there if you've never been there before. But yeah, it sort of makes it hard to get out there. So we try to make at least 3 visits a year, including that 5-day visit during spring break, but it's quite the journey. La Push and Niabay are both located in the Cascadia tsunami zone. So here you can see the tsunami evacuation walk maps that we use in class. So the school in Niabay is located within the tsunami zone, and at La Push, the school was moved out of the tsunami zone, but the old school was in the zone. So the kids and the community are very familiar and aware of this hazard and how it impacts them. and it's a big part of life there, as it is in Newport. Some background, about 10 years ago, UW researchers partnered with Washington EMD and worked with the Quileute and Makah tribes to develop vertical tsunami evacuation strategies. And really, the Quileute and Makah communities are leaders in tsunami preparedness and community adaptation on the coast. They've been thinking about these problems for a long time, and we have a lot to learn from them about how communities can prepare for earthquakes and tsunamis. And something I learned just from going out to La Push is how long they've been working to prepare for tsunamis through their Quileute Tribe Move to Higher Ground project, where they were moving their old school, which was about a foot above sea level in the tsunami zone, to higher ground to protect future generations. And so the first time we taught at the school, we were actually teaching at the new school located at their new area out of the tsunami zone. So yeah, the previous Riverways teams used to teach at the old Quileute tribal school down by the water, but now we teach in the new school. It's a beautiful building and a much safer location where the students can learn out of the tsunami zone. So it's pretty cool. So thinking about CASE throughout the year, because it is a year-long program, kind of think about it in terms of seasons, because at UW we have our quarter system where we have fall, winter, and spring, and then summer. So we sort of think about our program in that way. So I'm going to start down in the bottom right corner. In the fall is kind of when everything begins. We recruit 3 high school student interns who will work on a project related to the theme for that year. We'll also recruit our UW student team. The teams are made up of UW undergraduate and graduate students. So yeah, we just find people. So like this year, we recruited some people from our natural hazards class at UW. So yeah, we try to get the opportunities out there, and we get all sorts of students from all different backgrounds volunteering on the team, from computer science. We have international exchange students on the teams. We try to get the opportunity out there to as many different people. I think we have a journalism student on the team this year, so that's bringing a different perspective, and earth science students, of course. And then in the fall, we also plan our first visit to the school, and that's just to start building the relationship with the students and the teachers in the community at the beginning of the year in preparation for the spring break teaching. Then in the winter, we develop as a team our 5-day high school curriculum through the Riverways education course. So they facilitate us through the steps of developing an earth science curriculum and incorporating more place-based, place-specific, and culturally specific themes into our curriculum. And then in the spring, we teach at the schools over spring break. So the UW students basically take their spring break and they go out to the schools all across Washington and teach. So it's like a cohort of a bunch of different teams. So it's a big group and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, and then the high school interns will also complete their projects in the spring. And then in the summer, we plan and we dream about the next year and what we want to do, and reflect on the successes and maybe the failures of the previous year and how we can improve. So with each year, we're always trying to get better and figure out how we can be better teachers. So for the Quileute Tribal School, we're in winter season of year 3. So the first year we did geology, the second year we did seismology, and this year we're doing geomorphology. So right now we're in the process of building the geomorphology curriculum since we're in winter. So about the structure of our program tries to model reciprocity where both sides can benefit from the engagements throughout the year. So like I showed that little graphic earlier. And so just in a little bit more detail, when we're doing this exchange with the school, there's some give and take, and that makes it really beneficial and a lot of fun for both the UW students and the QTS students who participate in the program. For this talk, we're kind of just going to go around the circle, and I'll give a few examples of each part of this exchange. So first, we teach earth science to high schoolers. And in developing our STEM curriculum through Riverways, we apply a lot of different techniques and try to tie culture to science education. So we make our curriculum culturally relevant. We focus on strength-based learning, where the students apply their strengths to learning about the earth. We collect what's called funds of knowledge, so trying to learn about different aspects of the community and what's important to the community. We include story work. This is an important part of indigenous culture, is trying to tell a story. So we try to think about how we can tell the story of science. So this year we're excited. We're going to try out a new thing where we think of science as storytelling. And then we use the 5 E's instructional model, where we engage and explore and go through this cycle of engaging our students in what we're doing. So yeah, we try to tie a bunch of different evidence-based educational strategies into our curriculum. Another thing we strive to do is apply this two-eyed seeing model, where we combine Western knowledge and ways of knowing about science with indigenous knowledge and ways of knowing about science. And this is really important when working in the tribal schools, to combine these two knowledges to see more of the earth and deepen our observations and understanding of the landscape. So we create our earth science curriculum to be place-based. So for example, when we go to La Push, we focus on, if we're doing geology the first year, we focus on the geology of La Push. And we encourage the students to start making observations of the earth around them and connect earth science and just STEM in general to where they live. So for example, we went to Second Beach for the high school field trip in spring break 2023. And we did a geology scavenger hunt where they kind of ran around the beach and made a bunch of observations. And that really connects geology and earth science to where they live, because it's a really amazing place. So we just try to encourage them to see where they live through a different perspective. So we love to take students to the field to apply skills we develop in class and concepts we learn to the field. And a big part of what we do is just we try to have fun, and we try to make science fun. So this is a few photos from our field trip to the Ho-Hum seismic station operated by the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. So we had PNSN field engineer Doug Gibbons come out. He opened up the seismic station, and we all gathered around, and the students stomped on the ground, and we could see the stomps on that little TV there, so they could see the science that's going on just down the street from where they live. And I think now every time they drive by it, they'll be like, I know that's a seismometer there, but you wouldn't notice otherwise. It's sort of hidden. So it was cool to connect that seismology topic from our second year of teaching to where they live. And in class, we provide students with tools and skills to make their own observations. So we try to move away from telling the students what to think and what to observe, and just give them tools to help them make their own observations. And this leads to a lot of cool and fun outcomes. And it's just a different way of learning about geology. So for example, we had a couple students, and we were sorting rocks based on rock type, but we let the type be, or the way they sorted it, to be sort of open. And a couple students decided to sort their rocks by personality, which at first, as a geoscientist, I was like, what? Like, you can't do that. But then they explained that they were taking inspiration from this social experiment that found that people associate visual shape with certain speech sounds. So they had the angular rocks in the Kiki category, and then the round rocks in the Booba category, and then I guess the other rocks were the elders. So I just found this a sort of interesting way to think about rock sorting and the earth scientists, but just opening up and letting the students be creative is what we try to do in class, and not tell them that's wrong, because there's lots of ways to think about our science. And another thing we do is we try to learn and incorporate Quileute language into our lessons. And this is important for us to lead by example through learning and speaking Quileute in class, because many of the students are trying to learn Quileute, so we want to encourage them to keep learning and just show them that their culture is valued in their education. So here in our sculpting activity, they were tasked with sculpting Lawawa, which is beach, Kwaya, which is river, and Ate, which is land/mountains. So just incorporating it wherever we can into the lesson really brings in their experiences. When we're working with our high school interns, we also like to try to make new Quileute science terms and get them added into the growing dictionary. So we came up with this word for seismometer with one of our students, and it's sort of hard to say, but I'm gonna try. It's diat. So one of our interns, she really loved whales. So in a few of our meetings, we focused on how we can use seismology to study whales. So this is where this whale seismometer drawing came about. It was a part of her internship project. Okay, so another thing we do is we share about our UW experience and our individual career pathways. So when we go and teach over spring break, at lunch, we'll set up in the student lounge and we'll lead daily college tables that focus on different topics related to college, whether it's scholarships, majors, and minors, or just different career pathways. And this provides us an opportunity to speak one-on-one with different students and just talk to them about their pathway and answer any questions they might have about college. And we share about our career pathways and all of our different individual experiences with going to college. So a couple of weeks ago, we went to the Quileute Tribal School Career and College Fair. So there we set up, and there were a bunch of other exhibitors there, and we shared resources, especially about the transfer process. A few of our team members are transfer students, and this is a common experience for a lot of the high school students. They go to the Peninsula Community College in Forks, and then they might transfer. So this is something we focus on when we're talking about college. And another thing we do is we integrate art throughout the program to engage students in STEAM. So we did a little geomorphology sculpting activity where they sculpt the landscape. So one student sculpted this little sculpture of a beach. So we got the boulders on the beach and then the giant logs. If you've ever been to First Beach in La Push, they have ginormous logs. So I love to see what they come up with. Someone else sculpted a river with boulders and different rocks in it. So that helps them be creative while also learning about STEM. And I wanted to take a little break because this is kind of demonstrating how we're integrating art into the STEM curriculum, and while also sharing about our UW experience. So we're having a student logo design competition. They submitted 22 designs, and I want you all to scan this code and please vote, because they don't want to do the voting in the school. It's too contentious. So they want other people to vote. And so hopefully you guys can be the other people who vote on the logo designs. They came up with a ton of amazing designs. I was so impressed with what they came up with. So please vote. They're all designed by K through 12 students. And then, yeah, we'll have fun prizes for the top 3. So yeah, please vote. I'm gonna take a little break and drink water while you vote. Okay. You can also vote later, but yeah. Well, no, I don't think that would be ethical, but you could make a bunch of different entries, but that would be sort of unfair to the students. But yeah, once we get the votes in, we're gonna make T-shirts and stickers. So yeah, this is a pretty important decision, so don't take it lightly. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna keep going. So next on our exchange circle, we mentor high school students. So I've talked about this a bit. So we piloted our QTS high school internship program last year, and it was focused on seismology. So we relate the internship with the curriculum we're teaching that year. So we recruited 3 QTS high school students, and for their project, they installed a Raspberry Shake seismometer in their school, in their science classroom. They monitored earthquakes that were happening and created a seismic display in their school. And this Raspberry Shake seismometer was actually the first that's been deployed on the Olympic coast. So that was kind of exciting and adds a new data point to earthquake monitoring in the Pacific Northwest. So that was a lot of fun. And just to show that our seismometer works, we recorded this magnitude 2.7 earthquake that happened about 34 kilometers from the school. So we got the nice P and S wave arrivals in there. So it does work. It may not be as good as the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network seismometers, but it's adding another valuable data point at another location. So with this project, the interns then designed a seismic display that they put out in their student lounge, and this seismic display live streams the seismic data recorded by the QTS seismometer for all the students in the school to see. And I love this seismic display because I think when I was in college, one of the things that really got me into seismology was seeing a similar live streaming seismometer in our sort of lobby in our department. And I think this sort of is along a similar vein. It gets everyone engaging in seismology and earthquake science. And we've heard from teachers that when there's big earthquakes in the news, not that there's a lot of big earthquakes around here, but the students will crowd around the display and see if it recorded it. So I think it's doing what we hoped, is just engaging as many students as possible in seismology and earthquake monitoring. So this year we're doing geomorphology. So we met for the first time with our high school interns, 3 new interns this year, to talk about their projects and just engage in mentorship. I mean, if you think back to when you're in high school, you probably were interacting a lot with college students. So it's an opportunity for them to just ask questions and learn more about our pathways, and if that's a pathway they might want to go down. But yeah, a little bit more about what we're brainstorming for the project. The students are interested to study erosion and flooding at the Hoh River. One of our students is from the Hoh tribe, so this is relevant to her in understanding how the Hoh River affects the beaches. So it's something we're exploring, hoping to do a little bit of field work. That's a big thing that they really want to do, is get out in the field. And the Hoh village has had a history of issues with erosion and flooding. Here you can see Marie Reeby with a photo of the old Hoh village that's no longer there because there's been a ton of erosion there at the mouth of the Hoh River. So we're hoping to work with the students to just investigate the geomorphology of the Hoh River and how it changes and how it affects the people who live there. So we're excited to see where we can take this project. And just a little bit to show the relevance of this problem, the Hoh River has made the news recently actually for eroding. This road that leads to the Hoh Rainforest Visitors Center is now closed because the river is just cutting right into the road. So it's a very important issue in the community, and so we're excited to try to study it with the high schoolers. Next month for our program, we're gonna also co-host the high school students on UW campus. So a group of 24 of them are gonna get on a bus and drive out to Seattle And we're gonna host them with the Riverways Guides, which is another Riverways program, which is made up of primarily Indigenous student mentors. And they work with middle and high school students from tribal communities like the Quileute Tribal School to provide career and college readiness support in a culturally informed way. So we're really looking forward to this. We've been going out there a lot, so we're excited to finally host them on campus. And yeah, our goals for the visit are to share academic opportunities and resources for Indigenous students at UW and help the high schoolers prepare for college through workshops and just that process of transferring from community college that a lot of the guides have actually gone through. On the field trip, we're gonna do our best to link all of our stops to our STEM curriculum. So we're gonna make a visit to the UW Oceanography Puget Sound table to link what we're learning in class to the kinds of science and classes they could take at UW. We're gonna go to the Burke and learn about all the different things going on there, from earth science to archaeology to the native peoples of the region and their history. We're going to stop at the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network Seismolab to learn about the earthquake monitoring. And we're going to go on the indigenous walking tour at UW, which is this free walking tour. You can download the booklet online and just learn about the long history of indigenous people in the area around UW. So I'd recommend checking that out if you're ever at UW. So overall, with mentoring the students, we find it's more easy to relate with them because we're college students, because we're closer in age and we're at a similar life stage. So that's what's made this program really effective, I think, is because we're closer in our life experience, it can lead to breakthroughs in building relationships with the high schoolers. I think the trust grows over the years when the same team members come back. They remember us and they open up more when they remember the same people coming back. The students engage more deeply with the curriculum and actively participate when they trust us as their teachers. And we hope that they start to envision their futures after high school by relating with us and identifying with our experiences. So this is a selfie from the field trip to the seismic station. Okay, and so moving the other way on the exchange, when we go there, we're also learning, and every time I go out there, I learn something new, and it's my favorite thing to do. So yeah, every time we go, we learn about coastal issues faced by the Quileute tribe. So they're located right at the mouth of the Quileute River, and they have a lot of issues with erosion from the river as well as from the ocean, and risk for flooding is huge issue in the community, and this potential for avulsion of the Quileute River to go right through the lower village. So over the years, we've learned about these issues and we've designed our lesson plans to be based on the issues that are most relevant to the community. So it's not necessarily about my interests, but we're trying to change our curriculum to be what the students are interested in. So for example, our students have shared a lot when we're talking about geohazards, about flooding in and around La Push. And like I mentioned, flooding puts the entire lower village at risk. This is some photos from the Quileute River flooding in 2021. So with input from our students, when we teach over the years, we've asked, what are you interested in? And they often say rivers. So that's why we decided to focus in on rivers this year, because that's a big interest of the student and it impacts their community a lot. And yeah, beyond this, for the UW students ourselves, the team's made up of undergrad and graduate students. It's an opportunity for us to gain new experiences and to explore our interests in K-12 education and coastal science and in tribal relations. Not all of us are earth scientists. For example, Maya, who's been on our team for 3 years, is a computer science major, and this just provides a new opportunity to explore a new field and see if you like teaching. So it also gives the students who are involved in these sorts of programs opportunities as well. So I brought up Maya. I think mentorship within the team can create new opportunities for the people on the teaching team itself. So Maya's been on the team for 3 years, and through participating in CASE, she was able to get connected through the Cascadia Culture Charter Fellowships program, and she's really found her love for scientific research and working with communities, and now she's looking at going to grad school. So it can really change the course of not only the high school students' lives, but also our lives. And it's definitely changed the course of my life because I've found a passion for working with K through 12 students and teaching about coastal hazards. So it's definitely changed what I think I want to do with my life, just going out here and teaching at the schools. Another example, Julia Grossman is a second-year graduate student in the ESS department at UW. She taught on the seismology team last year, and now she's went on this year to lead the CASE program to teach seismology at Neah Bay High School. So she's going to take that curriculum we developed last year and adapt it to working with the Neah Bay High School students. So that was really exciting to see how mentorship within the team can lead to growth of the program and also just growth of the people, of the students involved and their leadership. Okay, another thing that's really fun is to learn about the traditional knowledge and stories and how it relates to coastal hazards in the communities that we visit. So one thing we like to do each year is invite elders to class. So this was in 2023, we invited Quileute elder Miss Ann, and she shared her stories of earthquakes and tsunamis in Cascadia with the students. And we did a lot of brainstorming with the students about how they could get ready as a community for earthquakes. And I think just us being facilitators instead of teachers is something we try to do. So we allowed Miss Ann to lead this class because she is most intimately familiar with what the community needs to be ready for tsunamis. And the students really engage when we invite in community members into class. And last year, we also invited Ho elder and storyteller Marie Reeby, who shared her story of Run to High Ground. So she played this little movie, and you can find this movie on YouTube. I would recommend it. It's really insightful and shares the stories that have been passed down through the generations of tsunamis. And basically, when you feel the ground shake, you don't just go to high ground, you run because they know the tsunami will be coming soon. So the students really engage with this movie, and one of our students actually stayed after class and watched the movie again and again. So it's cool to see how much they connect with the story and with the lessons. And then, yeah, they teach us their language and their culture. It's a really cool part about going out to these communities. So each year the UW team attends a language class with Scott Jackson, the Quileute language teacher, and we learn how to pronounce and read Quileute. So I've tried to pronounce it, but it's very hard, and there's all these sounds that are not natural in English or most languages. So it helps to work with some of the language teachers in the community to try to learn. There's tons of resources. There's even a Quileute language app that'll help you say the word correctly. So if you're interested in learning, you can download that on your phone, and there's lots of resources online. But that's been really cool. And we do our best to attend and participate in local cultural events just to learn more about the students and their culture. So each year we attend the weekly drum group at the Akalat, which is free and open to the public typically. It's on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. every week. So if you're ever in the push on a Wednesday, I would recommend going because it's a lot of fun. Yeah. We also learn how to make traditional artwork, and it's been cool to do this because then we can take these sorts of art projects and like introduce them into the class, because a lot of the students grew up doing these types of artwork. So we try to learn and then see how we can incorporate it into our teaching. So we worked on some basket weaving with Marie, and we were working on these beading projects. So it's been fun for us to do art as well. We try to do STEAM and incorporate art into the STEM curriculum, but we also get to learn how to do art. So it's super cool. I love it. And then thinking about how we evaluate our program, we evaluate it both qualitatively and quantitatively through story collecting, photo and video and interviews, and surveying. So here's just some examples of how we collect this quantitative survey data. You're not meant to be able to read this, but It's just to show that we give surveys to the students at the end of spring break and at the end of each short outreach event to see how we're doing and where there's room to improve, because there's always a little bit of room to improve. We do story collecting, so we try throughout our visits to just write down sort of anecdotal stories that the teachers and students and different people involved in the program tell us. So, for example, the science teacher told us that everyone in the class received full participation, and that doesn't always happen, but the students were particularly engaged and interested in what we were teaching. Miss Ann, when she joined, shared that she was amazed to see how engaged the students were, especially the boys in the science lessons. They're asking lots of questions and participating, which she said wasn't sort of typical. So that's cool to hear. And we often hear from the teachers that the students ask when the UW students are coming back, when is UW coming back? And then when we visit, they're like, when are you coming back again? So this tells us that they're enjoying it and maybe we should keep coming back. Yeah, we do interviews. We try to interview the students. So for example, in this interview, we asked them, what was your favorite part of the week? They said they like drawing the cliffs in that geology scavenger hunt and sorting the rocks. And just the sketching, they really love the art and incorporating the art into the geoscience curriculum. So yeah, thinking about the long-term vision of the program, we want to continue to build trust between scientists like myself and the rural and tribal communities on the coast through going to the same schools year after year. And that's what Riverways has built up over the last 10 years. And we want to keep that going. And yeah, just keep going back year after year and keeping this program consistent for the students because they expect us to come back. So we want to keep going back. We would love to expand the program to more K-12 schools across the Pacific Northwest to increase our impact of the program. That's something I'm excited about. And we've shown this year it's very scalable because it's led by UW students. So basically how it works is we get RA-ships to lead the team because it is a big commitment. So we provide RA funding for the grad students typically who lead these teams. So yeah. And then we hope to nurture our existing partnerships and build new partnerships to grow the collective impact of the program. I think a lot of us care about the similar issues of increasing coastal resilience in Cascadia. So we want to try to better work together with other programs that have similar goals. So yeah, we can move towards this collective impact of creating effective social change. Yeah, to grow, like I said, we're grad student organized and led. So we would really benefit from full-time staff that help us fulfill our program mission and our goals. And it just takes more funding to expand to more schools from those RA-ships and paying the high school interns, paying the partner teachers. We want to compensate everyone involved. So that's what it will take for us to grow. And we're really excited at the potential of growing in the future and spreading these experiences to more students. So we have a website. So I have a lot of QR codes. So if you want to scan another QR code, you can check out our website. It's on the Crescent, so the Cascadia Region Earthquake Science Center website. You can find it under their geoscience education if you don't want to scan this QR code, and you can learn more about what we do and see more photos and just get in touch with us, yeah, if you're interested in the program. And I just wanted to put this here as my acknowledgement to say that this program would not happen without support from especially our K-12 partner teachers, Alice Ryan, Scott Jackson, and Alexis Ward. They are the reason why this program happened, and the whole STEM alternative spring break and the CASE program as a whole in Riverways started because teachers wanted this in their school. So the teachers are what make this happen. So I wanted to put that up front. The Riverways staff, Richard, Para, and Allison Horn, they help us with all of our logistics as well as teach the class in winter. They really make this possible and we couldn't do it without them. And then also the Quileute, Ho, and Makah tribes for hosting us in their communities and always making us feel welcome and sharing their culture with us has really been amazing. So thank you. And yeah, the UW student volunteers who spend their spring break teaching every single year when they could be going on a trip to to anywhere they decide to give back to their community. So we couldn't do it without them. I wanted to end and say leatskal, which is thank you and kvilju. And yeah, I'll take any questions.
All right, that was a lot. I'll be excited to see what kind of questions we have. So Katie, do we have any questions online yet? Okay, how about questions in the room? There we go. I'm gonna try to come up this way.
I had a great talk, really enjoyed it. So I assume it sounded like the funding for this right now is coming through Crescent. Is that the main conduit? And my other question is, if you're trying to expand it, I assume, the Crescent money is already limited or, and if you wanted to expand it, are you looking to submit new proposals or how are you going about that?
Yeah, so the funding for the program comes like at the base from NASA, from the NESP partnership with NASA. But then we get additional like sort of seed and pilot funding to pay the teachers and the high school interns and the UW students on the team through Crescent and the Cascadia Copes Hub, because we think it's important to compensate people for their involvement in this program. But like kind of the baseline funding comes from NASA, and that's through the Riverways. So that is on like a 5-year cycle. So I think a lot of these things are coming up for sort of renewal. So hopefully it continues to get funded in the future. It's been going on for a long time. But yeah, we're looking for opportunities to apply to opportunities to kind of grow the program, and to create new partnerships with organizations who like align with the mission of the program. So that's how we got linked in with Crescent's High School STEM Pathways program, because they like our mission align in a lot of ways with teaching K through 12 or high school students about Cascadia geohazards. So yeah, we're just exploring the space and looking to create new partnerships. So that's part of why I'm here, is to look for people who want to collaborate and work together in the future and help us grow our impact. So yeah, I think it would be awesome to expand this program to Oregon and work with Oregon schools if that's something people are interested in. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Maddie. Other questions in the room?
I guess I have some, like, I put this on here. I was wondering, like, maybe questions for you all, like, what other opportunities exist for high school students to engage in coastal hazards, and maybe particularly in Oregon, that might be something you all are familiar with, or see if any of these things spark something open to discussion.
All right, hang on one second.
Hey, Maddie. From doing the program for a couple years, have you heard from students about how they've taught their community or like their parents? And just wondering, because one of the like knowledge gaps that I've heard, particularly with like Spanish-speaking communities, is that children have a lot of lessons and opportunities to practice earthquake, tsunami preparedness that they're often passing on to their parents. So just wondering if there's been any exchange in terms of the information you all have taught.
With like taking it back to their communities. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that would be an interesting question to ask them, like how maybe, like if they talk to their families about this and how maybe it changes the way they behave or how their family prepares. I think earthquake and tsunami preparedness is already a really important thing in the communities we go to. So I don't know how much of that we're really changing, but we do want to do more like surveying and quantifying like the impact of our program. It's been very like educational outreach style, but it would be cool to move into like more evaluating the impact over a longer term and how it impacts the broader community. But I do like believe in the impact of like the individual, and one person can influence like a ton of people. So I think that's probably happening, but I mean, it's hard to quantify. I would love to talk more if you have ideas.
Great. Okay, we got a question online and then we'll wrap up.
Okay, so coastal neighborhoods are actively engaging in moving key community elements upland because of tsunami threats as well as climate ones. Did your students discuss these efforts?
Sorry, what was the first part?
So it's a long one, sorry. Coastal communities are actively moving key communities upwards, up higher land. Did your students discuss these efforts in their area?
Like upland relocation? Yeah, I mean, it's really important to the Quileute tribe because they are in the process of they moved the school first to higher ground, but they're in the process of moving other key community infrastructure and facilities out of the tsunami zone. So this is something we talk about. It's very immediate because the school has been moved to higher ground, so it's very much like in the awareness and something we talk about in classes, like that adaptation to coastal hazards. So yes, that was something we focused on a lot last year when we talked about earthquake and tsunami hazards in La Push, and that's why we brought in Miss Ann to bring a community member who is part of the community and talk about their movement to higher ground and yeah, to get out of the flooding zone, but also out of the tsunami zone. So yes, this is something we talk about with the students and engage with them about.
I think we're gonna wrap it up though, Katie, if that's all right. Okay, because we're out of time. So can we give a round of applause one more time for Maddie?
Thank you.
All right, Maddie, thank you so much for sharing with us. There is your information on the email on the screen right now for the person who asked the question online. They can reach out to you if they have a question that way. And for everybody, thank you so much. And hopefully we see you next week. Thanks, everyone.